Stories Philippines podcast.
A shroud swept across the mountains that day, a heavy breath rising from the earth itself. Imagine waking up amid the gentle quiet of a northern town, hearing the distant calls of roosters, the raspy laughter from a sari-sari. Then a tremble. First, beneath your skin, a muscle clenching as if anticipating bad news. Then beneath your feet, a rumble so deep it feels less like movement and more like memory. Harder to see, impossible to ignore. Have you ever paused to ask what each hill remembers? When the sky turns the color of old bruises, when the wind howls a name you do not know, when the rain falls so hard it tries to flatten everything unlucky enough to stand, whose anger do you think brought it? What do you hold on to when even the land itself is reaching out to take back what it has lost? Listener discretion is strongly advised. The following story descends into true events and into the shadowed fables that have cut deep into Filipino hearts. The nightmare of devastation and the lingering mysteries that arose from the storm's aftermath may unsettle. Some wounds, after all, do not heal. If the ground beneath you can remember, then so can you. I am Jessica, and you are listening to Stories Philippines, Podcast Season 3, Episode 12, September 20th, 2005, The Landslide of Memory. Show notes and support options can be found in the description, and you can access exclusive content on Patreon. Email your stories to stories.phpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on social media for daily folklore facts. It began, as so many Filipino tragedies do, with rain. The kind of rain that whispers at first, then shouts. Typhoon Labuyo, known internationally as Damrey, arrived with little warning. The Eastern Ocean, mythologized by our ancestors as the Lautan Pinagmulan, broker of typhoons, was restless for days. To a child named Lito from a hillside barangay in Isabela, the world shrank to his tatay's worried hands and the relentless patter of water on a tin roof. By mid-morning, water flowed where dusty paths once wandered. By noon, the rivers swelled and the mountain itself began its slow collapse. Later, the world would call it a landslide. Here, people wondered if something much older had woken beneath their feet. From Isabela to Ilocos Norte, Cagayan, and Narvacan, provisions washed away. Entire villages lost their faces and voices. At least 16 people perished, some swept off in rushing currents, some buried where the soil let go, exposing the tangled roots and bones beneath. Over 20,000 families scattered, seeking safety in churches and municipal halls. Bodies they found, but there were many that remained only names, caught between ground and grief, between the living and the dead. Rain and wind have always been tools of gods and spirits, or so Filipino folklore insists. Not all the spirits drift easily. The Diwata, said to reside in leafy places and watersheds, have little patience with those who offend the land with greed. A Diwata's displeasure is supposed to manifest as restless weather, disease, or sometimes catastrophe. A pattern echoed throughout Southeast Asia, where storm deities and nature spirits weigh the actions of humanity. Kapampangan myth speaks of Apangalura, the mighty eagle spirit, whose wings stir clouds into tempests, sent to cleanse and renew what humans have tainted. A storm is seldom only weather. It is a verdict. Then there are the Nuno, the earth spirits, hidden in anthills and ancient rocks. Old folks will warn not to insult a mound, not to urinate carelessly, not to disturb the earth uninvited. The Nuno do not forget. Some say the landslides are their rage manifest, that when corruption seeps into a town's foundations, makes quick profit by stealing from the mountainside, by logging and building carelessly, the Nuno's silence cracks and violence rises. So many believe this that the story spreads to neighboring nations, variations appearing in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand, each with its own vengeful spirit of the land. But folklore never settles for one truth. Lito's mother, Melanie, once told a story heard from her grandmother in Quirino province. A mountain in their hometown was home to both a Diwata and a Nuno. The Diwata, beautiful and sorrowful, warned the villagers about the coming of a storm, a sign of injustice left unresolved. But it was the Nuno, unseen, who decided when the mountain would break. When Typhoon Labuyo tore at the land in September 2005, it did not only bring wind and water, it revived questions. Whose sins triggered the disaster? Was it the result of unchecked logging, quarrying, and greed? Or was it, as the elders warned, the inevitable result of forgetting that the land listens and waits to defend itself? Modern investigators combed through wreckage, recording scenes for relief agencies and scientific reports. Environmental experts saw clear evidence that human intervention made matters worse. Denuded hillsides collapsed under the weight of water. Barangays built on unsafe ground were erased. Social workers spoke with families who whispered of restless nights, hearing voices and feeling cold drafts where houses had been lost. By day, trauma was clinical. By night, it was supernatural. Not all stories matched. Details shifted with each telling. The fog woman's face sometimes blurred into the outline of a child, or the lights under the ground became a procession of tiny lanterns. But the repetition itself felt like evidence. Whether these accounts were literal truth, warped memory, or fear wrapped around grief, the pattern remained. People felt the mountain remembering, recalling old claims and old grievances in ways that resisted neat explanation. The threads were full of the same ache. A landscape that had once been background had risen to speak, and those who'd listened afterwards could not unhear it. Listener submissions poured in across social media. Posts, private messages, battered voice notes uploaded between outages, small tremulous fragments of disbelief and dread. One account came from Trina, who said she still woke with mud in her hair and the taste of rain in her mouth. In the days after the landslide, she watched a woman of fog drift above the ruined highway in Cagayan, motionless as a ghost and impossible as mist. Trina's family had fled when the hill groaned and cracked behind them. They ran with children and a single sack of belongings while the sky kept pouring. In the soaked, uneasy quiet that followed, she swore she heard whispers, the kind of low speech that sounded like both warning and accusation. Older residents told other listeners what they had always known. They led people to a small cone-shaped mound on the slope that the mud had somehow skipped. "That's a Nuno's dwelling," one elder said in a voice gone thin with age and recent fear. They left it alone. For them, the untouched patch was not an accident, but a sign. Proof that the earth kept its own company, that some places answered to older rules than human ones. The submissions multiplied. Brief, urgent notes and long, rambling messages typed with thumb-numbed hands. Accounts converged on the same motifs. Hands in the earth. People feeling like they were being pulled down in their sleep. Lights under the ground. Pale glows seen through torn soil during powerless nights. Sounds at midnight when everyone is supposed to be alone. Clanging, crying, or voices that mimicked loved ones. Some posts included full names of victims. Most used pseudonyms, or only first names, or none at all. A few messages were short. "Don't go near the slope," while others described whole nights of sitting on a concrete doorstep, watching shapes move inside the ruined hillside. Not all stories matched. Details shifted with each telling. The fog woman's face sometimes blurred into the outline of a child, or the lights under the ground became a procession of tiny lanterns. But the repetition itself felt like evidence. Whether these accounts were literal truth, warped memory, or fear wrapped around grief, the pattern remained. People felt the mountain remembering, recalling old claims and old grievances in ways that resisted neat explanation. The threads were full of the same ache. A landscape that had once been background had risen to speak, and those who'd listened afterwards could not unhear it. A viral YouTube video told by a local historian, shared just after the storm, retold Kapampangan beliefs. That typhoons are not curses but opportunities for a new beginning, a test by the spirits for both people and leaders. Elders from Isabela argued that only the guilty need fear the Nuno, and that forgiveness must be earned through respect and ritual. The video lingered on the idea that collective memory is a kind of haunting, that the land's rage is as much about past injustice as about rain or wind. For many, the relief efforts showed another side of the Filipino spirit. Communities rebuilt, sometimes in quieter areas, sometimes reoccupying sites the elders warned against. Psychological aid came, but so did rituals. Prayers to comfort wandering souls, calls to ask Nuno for forgiveness, offerings of rice, tobacco, water. In towns like Salana and Kapagan, survivors reported that the ground occasionally trembled, even without rain, as if reminding them not to forget what happened. Lito's family left their home, moving to relatives in Tuguegarao. Lito's dreams grew restless. Images of drowned roads, the smell of mud, a woman's voice reciting names he didn't know. Whether memory, trauma, or encounter, a question left for listeners. Globally, echoes appeared in other places where the land had been wounded. Landslide stories cropped up in China and Vietnam, where Damrey would continue its path of destruction. Storms that tore at houses and hearts, that left survivors wondering what spirits had witnessed the calamity. The Philippine Red Cross reported that each section of the mountain had a story to tell. Bones unearthed, old markers revealed, family photos found where no house remained. International responses brought both help and reflection. Experts from Europe, Japan, and the United States compared the catastrophe to similar events on their own soil, finding that the soul of the land is memorialized in every culture. Rain, wind, and shifting ground are words written by the forgotten and by the unforgiven. Seems the climate scientists said nothing about spirits. They measured rainfall, calculated soil stability, recommended better policies, but the survivors and the listeners, those who sit awake, wondering about the sounds under their houses, Know that not all stories can be measured. The Diwata offers her warning. The Nuno holds his grudges. And humans rebuild, sometimes heedlessly. In many towns, children say the mountains told them to leave. A mother swears she saw her lost child in a dream, standing atop the landslide, smiling. Some wounds remain open. Some lands dare the living to remember what has been buried. Find show notes and support options in the description. Access exclusive content on Patreon. Email your stories to stories.phpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on social media for daily folklore facts. Before the final reflection, think. If the land itself remembers everything, then what have you left behind? If spirits rage, is it for justice or for love unpracticed? When the rain comes, do you run for shelter or stand and listen to the stories beneath your feet? Corruption is only temporary. The land remembers everything. So let me ask you, listener, what does your home recall? What does it forgive? No story is ever truly lost so long as someone remembers. If you found this episode moving, do not forget to like, subscribe, follow, and share this podcast. Support financially in ways you can find in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in. Stay vigilant. And remember, the story survives, even when the land sleeps.